A little bit about the philosophy that I use, or as we use in Denmark, and the teaching strategy that our coaches are using. This is a little bit simple. Most coaches do things right. A lot of coaches do things right. But only the good coaches are doing the right things. Because it is easy enough to learn. Read a book and do. But is it the correct things? Quality is never a coincidence. All of you know that. Quality is always a strong desire. I want to work with quality in my training. Quality is also clever exclusions of things which is not necessary to do. And this is, of course, something you learn by experience. But if you do not start learning it early enough, you will only be a coach. You will not be a good coach. Quality represents the wise choice between several opportunities. There is not only one way to develop a top player. There is several ways, because every top player is individual. You do not have two players with the same qualities. All of them need different guidance. My advice to you is, do not imitate. Do not imitate. Don't do. Even my friend Juan Anton Garcia is an expert. Do not do everything that he is doing. No, use his ideas and then innovate. Take what is the best from him and from Paulo and use it in connection with your players. And especially because I speak of youth players. I do not speak of high developed players. As we say in Denmark, if you always follow other footsteps, you will never be in front. I follow Ulrik Wilbæk, the Danish national coach, in the footsteps of him, but I will never be in front of him. It's impossible. Sometimes you need to take chances. Now, do you describe handball here in Portugal in 6 phases? Or do you describe it, as I've seen in a lot of countries, in 4 phases? Nobody says anything. Maybe my English is not good enough. The question is it described in 4 phases or in 6 phases? Oh. You are sorry. What is it, 4 or 6 here? Nobody says anything. I think that you have described it in your books, even though I cannot read Portuguese. You have described it in 4 phases. In Denmark, we describe a handball game in 6 phases. 1. Now, why do you go on the court? Why do young players, why do children go on the court to play handball? Juan Anton, why do they do it? They want to intercept the ball. So the first phase is the interception of the ball, and immediately when your team has the ball, you change from defense to offense. Then, when your team has the ball, you move up the court with the ball, passing, dribbling, whatever. Phase 3, you come closer to the goal. Am I so close now that I can shoot, or am I so close now that I can give a pass to my friend who is in the shooting range, the shooting distance from the goal? And then, of course, you play organized attack, against organized defense. You shoot, goalkeeper save, and immediately, or block, immediately, return phase starts. And defense starts. And then, of course, when you come back, you play organized defense. This is how we define a handball game in Denmark. Now, since you would not answer me whether you have 4 phases or 6 phases, I have to ask openly, how many of these phases are defense and how many are attack? Come on. Nobody says anything? How many of these phases are defense? 3. And 3 is attack, right? This is clear. The question is, when you have your young players, 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, 17-year-old, with you, do you train them in every of these phases? Have you exercises in your brain, in your book, in your papers, for all these 6 phases? Maybe. If you have, it's fantastic. And then the question is, of course, how do the players respond to it? We see, when I travel around the world doing courses in Uganda, in Singapore, in China, I am quite sure that most of the coaches, they are using most of their time on phase 4 and phase 6. Is that the same here in Portugal? Could be. It could be. It's up to you to decide if it should be like this in the future. Handball is one of the fastest games for teams. It's not fast like ice hockey, but it's fast. It's really fast. It's physical, it's contact, and physical fitness, coordination, creative tactical knowledge, technical skills, combined with team spirit, are the characteristic of our fantastic game. You are not a good team if you do not have all of these things. It's not enough to be tall. It's not enough to be small and fast. It's not enough to be a winner. If they score a goal, start crying. You need to have everything. And that demands a clear understanding and a priority from the coach in connection with the choice of methods and planning of the training lesson. You must be clear what you want to do. And my question to you, and now I come to the Danish philosophy. What should a coach first teach the players? Should it be technical skills or tactical knowledge? Remember, I speak only about 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old players. I do not speak about high-paid players from Barcelona or from Kiel. I speak about players who have started their way to be top players. What should you teach them first? The key words in this respect are, should you teach them first why they should do this, when they should do it, where or how? Have you decided that yourself? Is it in the school of the Portuguese education? I do not know. But it is clear in our school in Denmark that tactical knowledge must be taught before technical skills. The players should know why we want them to do this and when we want them to do this. The key word is timing. They should know exactly why and when. And then, if they understand this complex game we have, yes, okay, in the right wing, you can do like this. And then you go and make training exercises where you explain them how to do this. Somebody would say, I remember I had a discussion with a coach 5 or 6 years ago. He was from an Eastern European country. And he said to me, Mr. Allen, you're crazy. How can you explain a player why to do this and when to do this when he does not know how to do it? He said, whatever you say, whatever loud you speak, I will use with young players the time only for doing them, showing them how to make the exercises. Then I said to him, okay, then go on with this. But that means also that maybe some of your players will need repetition before you are satisfied. And that means if they have done this 10 to 15 times in front of you and you still look like you are angry, do you think they will come to you again? Do you think they will stay in the handball if this is the attitude of the coach? He didn't answer. He turned around and he went home and he did like he normally do. Because his coaching philosophy was clear. When I decide, and you are doing it. Again, why do we dare in Denmark to say tactical knowledge is more important than technical skills? It's simple. How long time do a player during one handball game have a ball in his or her hand? Have you ever figured that out? It's not a long time. I can tell you. Let's make a calculation. 10 players on each team. One match is 60 minutes. That means 10 players at least only have a chance to have a ball in 30 minutes because the rest of the 30 minutes they are in a defense. That means the 30 minutes where you are in possession of the ball, then if you divide that with 10 players, goalkeeper, etc., we are down to 3 minutes for each player if they share the ball between them, right? Then take away all the time when the ball is in the air. Take away all the time when the ball is on the floor. Take away all the time when the ball is outside. Are we under 2 minutes? Or are we close to 1.5 minutes if they could share the time equally between them? Yes, we are. That means in 92-93% they are playing handball without being in possession of the ball. We just saw the exercises of Paulo just here now, where you concentrated on the defense. You explained to them what to do, and if they didn't do it, or didn't know what to do, or why, or when, they would not be successful. Players, at least in Denmark, when they come to handball training, they think that all the exercises should be with ball in their hands. And if we do not change this from the beginning, when they grow up, and they need to understand, 95% of the time, I am never close to the ball. And still I have to be a good handball player, place myself in the right way, do the right things. Then they will hate handball after 2 months. Because they don't understand what the hell am I doing if I do not have this round ball in my hands. That is a challenge for us as coaches when we speak about youth players. It must be interesting to be doing exercises without ball, being taught tactical knowledge. It means when you meet the players for training, and you sit with them and you explain, today we are going to speak about and work very much about this tactical thing. Then you have to be a storyteller, like we have one in Denmark, Hans Christian Andersen. Maybe you know his fairy tales, right? And children, when they hear Hans Christian Andersen speaking about the princess and the queen, etc., children are like, oh yeah. The same should happen when you are telling them about tactical knowledge in a very inspiring way. It's difficult, but it's necessary if you want to keep the children close to you. Almost what? Okay. Now, I will go a little bit into defense play. Now, I do not speak about coaches in Portugal, but I speak about coaches in Denmark. I can allow me to do this. When we come to defense play, how many of coaches here in Portugal has taken the rule book of International Handball Federation and told them, please, in this game, you must know by heart Rule 8.1. Do you know Rule 8.1? No. Do you? Do you? A lot of coaches, and I'm a coach myself, a lot of us, we never tell the players what is in the rule book. And it's so easy. What do they want when they are in defense? They want to intercept the ball without referee whistling, right? Without making foul. So, 8-1, you can use an overhand to play the ball out of the hand of another player. You can use bended arms to make body contact with all opponents and to monitor and follow your player all over. And to use your body to block if somebody is running next to you. These 3 points is within Rule 8.1. It cannot take you more than 5 minutes to write this on a piece of paper and give every child, girl or boy in this age group and go back and say, show this to your parents. Because this is handball. I have just been doing a lecture over there, up there, and we were speaking about how come that handball is not very popular in the school. And I could tell that even in Denmark, where handball is extremely popular, physical education teachers at school, they hate to teach handball. Do you know why? because of all the fouls, all the physical contact that they see when our national team or the club teams are playing in television. And all the injuries they see on live transmission. In Denmark, we have 5 or 6 live games a week. More than football. Where do you see the most injuries? In open screen, with camera close to, crying ladies, crying boys, or maybe not crying boys, but anyway, hurting boys. You see this in handball. Do teachers like to introduce this kind of sport to their students? In Denmark, not. In Portugal, maybe. So that is why we have to be careful about it. And not, when we are talking about defense play, start teaching them Rule 8.2, which says, it's not permitted to pull or hit the ball out of the hand. It's not to be bum, 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 bum. Because a lot of coaches, at least in Denmark, I do not speak about coaches here in Portugal. A lot of our coaches in Denmark are teaching their players dirty and, in my opinion, unnecessary tricks. We heard Juan Anton Garcia this morning, here, nearly at my place, talking about flexibility, talking about knowledge, talking about whatever. And that is why, if I again should go back and work with team on 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old, I would start here. I would teach them individual tactical intention. What are you doing in defense? All the time striving to regain ball possession. This is why you are in defense. I hate when my opponent has the ball. I want the ball with my team. And of course, constantly suppressing all the scoring chances. So whenever they look like they want to score, I'm ready, if I'm close to the ball carrier, to make it difficult for him. Without using Rule 8.2, but using Rule 8.1. What tactical means do you have? I do not speak about technical means, skills. I speak about tactical means. Change opponent's perception of main focus. How many players are taught by you? Let's take an example. Ball is on the right side. Very good left-hander. I'm defending on the other side. Okay. Ball is over there. I do nothing. We saw it today. But if suddenly a wing player on the other side shouts, "Wow!" which is allowed, maybe the attack players will change the focus. And we, especially in youth handball, we do not talk about changing perception of main focus. You are visually working with the arms, you are talking loud, not letting the attackers decide, in order to make them confused. Dissuasion of passing and shooting. We saw this in your exercises, Paolo. We saw it this morning also. So it's difficult to pass. It's difficult to shoot. All the players, I remember you said it also, Juan Anton, the player with the ball is watched by how many defenders? 6 or 7, including the goalkeeper. Everybody must have the eye on one of these guys. And constantly monitoring of actions and positions of all the players. You know, this vision, split vision as we call it in Denmark. You are watching the ball with the right eye, with the left eye you are looking at all this player over there, you're waving with the hands so that you give signal to your own players oh, I'm alive, I am here. And of course, in youth, this is important. Mark, hey, I take this guy. Now they change, I take this guy. Talking and marking. And then, of course, faking movements. Sometimes, why are we so scared to teach our center defense player in youth handball, in the middle? Try sometimes to stand like you were asleep. Then immediately, they will try to pass the ball to the pivot player, but I'm not asleep. I'm only pretending I'm asleep, and then I take the ball. Defense play is a kind of acting and reacting and being active. Then, of course, we should also speak about group tactical intention. It's, of course, not only a duty of one player. It could be a group of 2 players, a group of 3, etc. And I will not, because my friend is looking at the watch. The group tactical intention should, of course, be the same, like the individual tactical intention. Group tactical means distribution of responsibilities. And a lot of teams do not, a lot of coaches do not educate the goalkeepers to be the one who is communicating. A lot of coaches, not in Portugal, because you're much more clever, but a lot of coaches, they are shouting from outside, from the bench. Do this, do this, do this, do this. And what do the players? Whenever a youth player is shouted at, and then, why don't educate the goalkeeper? Or another player, maybe a wing player, to be your brain. All the time saying, okay, you take this, Peter, take this, Mark, take this, take blah, 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 blah. Communication, friends. This is so important for the tactical development. Marking, covering. If one player is a little bit slow up there, then another one is ready. Hey, help Peter. Go up, cover his open space. But if you do not speak about it and let the players, teach them to speak about it, then you can, as a coach out there, just after they scored, just... And again, what I'm trying to tell you, in Denmark we try, even though it is difficult, and we have coaches who does not follow this philosophy, we try to teach the young coaches, or coaches working with young teams, try to educate players on the court to be your computer, so that you have put this computer into the brain of a player. Taking over, passing on, and then of course, setting traps. Open up, left wing. So, one player looks like, coach, what are you saying? And he stands up there, and at the same time, you know exactly now the opponent is putting the ball down there, and at the right moment, he go in and he provoke an attacking foul. Why don't we already early in the age of players start to teach them this tactical knowledge? Not using grade 8 to killing the opponent, but provoking a technical foul. Do you understand what I'm saying? And then, of course, but now my time is more or less out, you should also have group tactical means in special situations. I only take team timeouts. How many times do we see in youth handball that after a team timeout, if it is allowed to have a team timeout, or even in men's handball, that suddenly the other team goes in there and make a fantastic pressure. Most coaches, they take not risk enough in this way. Now, of course, this is the end of it. In Denmark, we have an idea. It's not all the coaches who can follow it, but this is more or less a recommendation from the Danish Handball Federation, the talent work, that all the players, before they are 17 and is a part of regional team or regional selection or whatever, should be able to play all these defense systems. They should have trained it. It doesn't mean that they play with it the whole time, but they should know it before they come to the national team, because there can be situations where, do you know what I mean by 1-5 defense? You know, only one defender at the 6-meter line, 5 defenders at the 9-meter line. We saw one film today where it was very clear. And then, of course, a lot of mixed system. Back to my starting point. Reconsider what is most important when you teach young players that should be top players. Should you teach them how to do things first, where to do things first, or why and when? Should you teach tactical knowledge in front of technical skills? Thank you very much.